Hello and welcome to another Yokogawa informational webinar. Today's webinar will be the YHC5150X and the CA700. During this presentation, myself, Chris Koslow, Jeff Rainey, and Tay Cho will be discussing these products. The first product we're going to discuss is the YHC5150X, the Fieldmate handheld communicator. One thing I want to point out before we get started is the YHC works with all manufacturers' devices that have the HART protocol. So we definitely want you to use the Yokogawa products such as the flow meters and the transmitters and the other devices, but this works with every product, all the other manufacturers, their flow meters, their pressure transmitters, their temperature transmitters, if they have the HART protocol. Okay. Some features about the YHC5150X is that it reads the manufacturer's DDs in their native format without the need for translation. So what this means is if a new product comes out, the manufacturer will normally take the DD device and submit it to the HART Foundation. The HART Foundation releases on quarterly releases. Well, with this product, you can actually talk to the manufacturer and get the DD directly from them. And with our software, you can take that DD and add it into the YHC, so there's no waiting. You don't have to wait for the quarterly release. You can immediately use the product.
And Chris, also, there's no need to pay subscription fees.
That's true. The software that we provide is free, and you don't have to pay a 3-year subscription fee like you normally do with the competitor products. Also, the display is a 4.3 anti-glare touchscreen with color graphics. And the important part here is there's no stylus required. It has a capacitive display that you can use your finger or a business card, but there's no stylus required for it. It also comes with a full keyboard. So in the past, with other products, you've had to hit the shift button and then press like the number 7 3 times to make a letter. Now we have a full function keyboard that allows you to directly type in the tag information. We also are HART compliant with HART 5, HART 6, and HART 7. We have certifications from Class 1 Div 1, the ATEX, Intrinsically Safe, IEC. We also have many global approvals like NIPSI, KOSHA, GOST, and other country requirements. For a full list, just please check our website out, and we'll give you all that information later to see all the global approvals we have. We have on-demand help menus. These allow the customer to set up their own shortcuts. So if you are doing multiple transmitters and you want to get to a certain section within the HART tree, you can set up a shortcut and go directly to that option. Also, we have a navigation button that lets you know where you are in the HART tree. So you don't have to hit the back button. You can always jump to different places in the HART tree to make commissioning a device a lot quicker. We do have integrated multi-languages, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Just to let you know, if you didn't know what a DD was, it's a device description. So it's an electronic file that's prepared by the manufacturer, and this allows the communication with a smart device and the communicator. So we'll get into a little bit of the display. And these pictures here, if you look at the 2 bottom pictures, they were taken up under the same light. The one on the right is a competitor product, and you can see the glare of the light. And the one on the left is a YHC, and as you see, there's no glare. In addition, the top 2 pictures show you the size difference of the YHC and how much more space there is to allow you to see all the information. And here's an example of the 4.3 display that I talked about, showing you the dimensions and the space available. So we have a lot of questions about this. Can you use it in bright sunlight? How about cold weather? Because we know in the northern states, also in Canada, it gets cold, and Russia it gets cold. Here, there's no problem at all. Like I said earlier, with the capacitive display, you can use gloves. So keep your hands warm, no problem. Keep them on. The touch display works perfect. With the keyboard, in the past, other products had it where you had, again, to hit the shift button and the number 7 to get the letter R to appear. We have a full function keyboard with the molded keycaps. So when you press it, you're actually feeling the button press instead of having no contact. Again, all the numbers are there and all the letters, which makes it easy to enter a tag number. Here's a little bit of more information about the keyboard. As you can see, there's the OK feature. You have the navigation ring in the middle, and this is where your hand sits, so you can easily go up, down, left, right, and there's also the enter select button. We have a information help button. There's some configuration you're not 100% sure what it means. If you click the information button, it comes up and gives you a pop-up and gives you some information about what that selection is. Okay. We also at the bottom have a backlight button, and on the bottom left is the power button. And with the power button, if you'll hold the power button key down for 5 seconds, it powers the unit on or it powers the unit off. We also have a standby resume, where if you press the button once, the screen will go off. So just like your cell phone that you have at the top of like your iPhone on the right side, if you press the button one time, it cuts the screen off and helps the battery life. However, the phone is still on. Same thing with the YHC. So we're going to take a little bit closer look at the display. So the display areas, in the top left, you have the device that you're communicating with. So in this instance is the YTA, and the tag number we have is the ARS-17. The information in the black, this is where your SDC625 information is. So this is the information that's being pulled directly from the product you're talking to. And at the bottom, this is what I talked about earlier with the tree, where it shows you exactly where you are in the heart tree. A lot of times, some heart trees are very deep and have a lot of different branches. Here you can see exactly where you are. So if you're in the basic setup and I hit tag number next, if I want to get back to device setup, I just press the device setup on the screen and I jump back. I don't have to hit back to get there. On the right-hand side of the screen, and we'll go into a little bit more of these in more detail later, but these are your navigation buttons, shortcut keys, and again at the top is your battery level and your time. So looking a little bit more at the section, that's the SDC625 section. So this is everything that the HART DD has. So when the manufacturer creates the device, he writes the DD, and this is everything that is pulling from the product. The example of the low alarm, this is a simple one touch. Again, the screen is very sensitive. You can touch it, get the information you need. The green arrows on the right-hand side of the screen for number 3 and number 7, these are selections where the user has made the change. So this is sort of a confirmation that, hey, I've made the change, and then there's another button on the right that you're confirming the change. So if you're going through the HART menu tree and you're making a lot of changes, you at least know what you've changed before you commit. On the low alarm level, as you can see, the alarm latching, you can see that the word sort of gets a little lighter. What this means is there's a lot more behind that. So there's something else that says alarm latching. There's some other statement behind that. So you know if you click on it, there's more information there. And then in addition, the high contrast for the low light situation. So we made it very bright, and there's an option for you to select how bright you want the product. So you can do 20%, 40%, 60%, all the way up to 100% of the brightness that you need for the area that you're in. So these are the value added, and these were what I said we would talk about a little bit more. In the upper left, this button here is the system setting. So if we want to get back to the different languages, or we want to set the time, or do a recalibration on the touch screen, this is where we'd go here. The create shortcuts, if you look at the bottom where it says basic setup, this is a shortcut that we went in and set up for us. So if we want to connect to a transmitter or some device and we want to go straight to basic setup, then we'll just press this button. A lot of times when you order transmitters, you order like 24, 50, 100 at a time, and you're going in there and they have the same setup, but you're just trying to change the tag number. So when you connect to the device, if you have a shortcut key with tag number, then right when you connect, you just hit the tag number, and you don't have to worry about the heart tree or getting the menu out to see how to get down to the tag number. You just press the button and go straight to the tag number.
One other thing I'd like to add, Chris, is that the shortcut buttons are only going to show up pertaining to the specific product that you're connected to. So you're not always going to have your screen full of these shortcut buttons. Only when they're available for that specific product will you see them.
That's right. So an example is if I'm connected to a Yokogawa EJX pressure transmitter. So the setups, the shortcut keys that I set up for that transmitter are going to be only for when I hook to that transmitter. If I connect to a flow meter, when I connect to the flow meter, I'm not going to see all the shortcuts, and this is what Jeff was talking about. The other icons are the display device status. So if there's an issue or an alarm, you can press this button to get more information. We also have a hotkey. There's a lot of DDs that require that there be a hotkey for shortcut. And this, again, it's just a basic shortcut key, but in the DD, it looks for the hotkey button, and so we've added that. And then we have the configuration storage. You see the arrows going left and right. So this means that you're uploading a configuration or you're saving a configuration to the YHC. Okay? Okay, so the status bar at the top, this is similar to a cell phone. And when this product was designed, we tried to make it as modern and user-friendly as possible. Everyone pretty much in the world has a cell phone, and we tried to make it like using a cell phone to make it user-friendly. So at the top, you have your battery display and your status. You have the current time, and you can set this either as a 24-hour period or a 12-hour clock. We have the heart communication icon. So when you're connecting to a device, you'll see the heartbeat, and it'll go on and off like it's a heart beating to let you know that it is communicating with the device. And then we have the PB, which is the primary or burst transmitter indication. Looking at the touchscreen keyboards, we have 5 different keyboards, and here's an example of one. And again, this gives you all the information without having to hit the shift key. And it gives you the percentages, the plus and minuses, and we'll go on to the other keyboards where you have the dollar signs, some Roman numerals. You'll have uppercase and lowercase, so many different options for the keyboard. Looking at the system menu, when you power up the product, it's going to come up, and this is the home screen. So you'll have the system setup, the heart setup, and the system information. And the system information, this gives you the revision that you're on, the serial number, it tells you about the product. And the heart setup, which we'll go to this screen now, it's going to let you know what heart addresses that you're pulling to. Now, this screen right here is if you have more than one device in your heart loop. So let's say you have this one has a temperature sensor, number 103 that is connected. But if I wanted to speak to the, on address 5, there's a 248R, or if I wanted to speak to the other product, then here's where I select devices. So you can talk to one product at a time, but this lets you know that there's 3 devices on the line and in the loop, and you can click on that device. If we go back to the system setup menu, and here you have the date time setup, the power, so you can adjust the backlight. If you're in a place with a lot of light and you want to reduce some battery time, then you'll just lower the display. Here also you can select the languages, which we'll talk about that in just a second. And then there's the touchscreen calibration. So you can go in here and say, hey, I want to calibrate this to my touch. And when you go in, the operator can select the button, and he does a quick, it's maybe a 5-second setup, and it allows him to set up the calibration. So the languages, there's many different language options in the YHC. And on a lot of the competitors' products, you can only select one language when you order the product. With the YHC, it comes with every language. So if you have a YHC in your facility and you have operators that speak different languages, when they get the product, they can select their own language that they're familiar with, and then if another operator comes back on and wants to go back to English, they can go back to English. So all the information in the system menu will be in the language that you select. In addition, there's a quick start guide that comes with each unit. So in each unit, when you get the product, there will be a quick start guide in all the different languages to help the operator easily start working with the unit. The YHC also comes with a charging cradle. This is where it powers itself and charges the battery, and also where it communicates with the free software. As you can see on the right, here's the rear cradle, and this is where the USB port goes in and the AC jack. As we told you earlier, this is a free software with no subscriptions. So there's no 3 years and you have to give us another fee for more updates of firmware or DDs. Once you purchase a product, and then you're done. So all updates are free. Software, what this does is it manages the local library on your PC. And then you can select the communicator that you want to update. So here it's showing me on the left that I'm connected to the FTWWVM5L communicator. And once I go in and I want to update the information, I can update it from the web, I can update it from a source if I wanted to, and I can delete configurations. But here, if you don't have a firewall set up in your system, then what the software does is when you start the software, so you start the FC Manager, it's going to go out and look to see if there's any updates. If there's any DD updates or any firmware updates, it's going to come back and say, hey, there's updates available. Do you want to do this? And if so, you hit yes, and you can select from a web. Now, if you're in a facility that has a firewall or other securities, then we can also give you this information from a CD source, and then you can upload your device there. Another function is saving configurations. So you have the configurations, you're out in the field with the YHC, you're working with many different products. You come back, you can save those configurations to your PC to give you a record. You can also take those configurations that are on your PC and upload them to additional YHC units. So if you bought 3 units and you had 1 unit that had a lot of configurations on it, you could save those configurations to your PC. You can take the 2 new units and transfer those configurations to your YHC. So you didn't really need to go and connect to those devices again. All the information is transferred to your device. We talked a little earlier about the single DD when you get it from a communicator, from a competitor, sorry. And if a new product comes out and you contact that manufacturer, they send you the DD, on the software you can add a single DD, which helps you communicating with that product much quicker. So again, you don't have to wait for the 3-month HART release, and you don't have to worry about a lot of wasted time downloading a batch of DDs. You can do a single DD update. Here's an example of uploading configuration. So I have this YHC. I uploaded the configuration to my handheld, and now I want to restore configuration to the transmitter. So I can do an as found or as left type storage. The YHC also works with our Fieldmate software. For users with the Fieldmate software utility, what the user does is they take the information on the YHC and it's connected to our Fieldmate data converter. And what this does is this allows you to see every configuration on your device. You can save this configuration file to your PC as you can with the FC Manager, or you can save it into the Fieldmate software. Once you go into the Fieldmate software, then you'll be able to see the configuration, and you'll be able to go into the DTM of that and see the information. So here it shows you the tag number, the long tag number, the upper level, lower level, range level, and it tells you all about the product. So you can see each individual item inside the configuration. All of this information is available on our website, and this is yokogawa.com/US. If you go on the yokogawa.com site and you click on the Field Instruments under the Device Smart Communication, you'll be able to see all the information on the product, all of our downloads, all the different languages that we have there. You'll also be able to see a factory DD load, which you see on the bottom right here. So when we send a product out, it's completely loaded with the DDs that are available at the time we send the product out. We keep this on here and we keep it updated, so you know every DD that we've installed on the product, so you can see the devices that it can communicate with. Now, every DD that is registered with a HART Foundation is preloaded on the unit. There's also some unregistered devices that we've received from many manufacturers that we've installed on the device. If we're missing a DD, let us know, and we can contact that manufacturer and get that DD added. But most of all the DDs that are registered with HART are on the device. To finish up with the YHC, we're trying to make this product as easy as possible and user-friendly. We know that there's many devices that operators have to communicate with daily, and it's hard to remember every device. So we tried to make this device very easy and user-friendly to operate. That's it with the YHC. Now we're going to move into the CA700.
Thanks, Chris. This is Tate Cho. I'm going to talk about the CA700. So as far as the CA700, I'm going to do a product overview. We'll talk about some of the functionality of the unit itself. We'll talk about how to navigate some of the as found as left features and files. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the accessories, and also we'll talk about applications. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the CA700, the overview. The CA700 is a high accuracy, very easy to use pressure calibrator. It actually has multifunction capabilities. So what that means is you're able to measure pressure and also be able to source and measure current and voltage. So this has the highest available accuracy in a portable unit, and we'll talk a little bit more about what makes it more accurate and what those specifications are. The unit itself comes in 3 different ranges: 200 kPa, 1000 kPa, and 3500 kPa. The unit itself is capable of displaying over a dozen different engineering units, and what I mean by that is you're able to display the pressure in kPa, PSI, inches of water, bar, millibar, so you have many different options to be able to display that information. So there's multiple USB ports that are used for retrieving data, and also to be able to copy data to those to an external memory stick. And the unit itself has an internal pressure module. So unlike some other units that are available on the market, this has an internal module, so no need to buy external modules, and we'll talk about the advantages of that as well. So we talked about the CA700 being the most accurate on the market, and basically, as far as the specification is concerned, the unit itself has a basic accuracy of 0.01% of reading. And this is really an important point here, because we are the only manufacturer that really lists the accuracy as a percentage of reading. Most manufacturers list it as a percentage of the span. So depending on the actual span, and we'll talk about this in the next slide, there's a tremendous difference when you talk about the accuracy over the entire span of the unit. The unit utilizes Yokogawa's silicone resonance sensor, and this is a technology that's been currently used in our pressure transmitters, and it's a proven type of technology. It's highly accurate and very stable over time, and it's been used in many harsh environments. So it's a very well performing and long-lasting type technology. So due to its superior accuracy, the CA700, and we talked about this with external modules, that you can do a lot with one module that you would need multiple modules from another manufacturer for. So in addition to that, it also provides a lot of high range ability. You're able to resolve down to 0.001 PSI. So here is a accuracy comparison. So the blue line that you see there, that is what you will find typically in most the competitive pressure calibrators on the market today. That's typically about 0.025% of full scale. The scale here is 200 kPa, so roughly 29 PSI. And the red line that you see there, that's 0.01% of reading. That is what the accuracy is of the CA700. So, and then there's a dotted line there that is a EJX transmitter for comparison purposes as well. So what you see here is at the full range of the span, which is 200 kPa, the accuracy between the CA700 and some of the other competitive devices is not that big. You can see that the lines are very small, but since ours is a percentage of reading, our line is going to be fairly linear from the span, as you can see. Whereas the blue line, as you get down to the lower pressure ranges, you have to add in that full error of the percentage of the span into the equation. So what that means is when you're measuring in the lower pressure ranges, you could be off potentially 20, 30, 40% in terms of what you're measuring. So this is where we talked about the need or the ability to replace multiple modules in many applications. To accurately measure and calibrate something in this range, you may have a need to have 2 or 3 different pressure modules to be able to do that, whereas with the CA700, that can be accomplished with one module across the entire span. So the CA700, here is a front panel view of the unit itself, and we'll talk about the direct keys in a slide or two later. But the function keys on the left, this is where you would, depending on what mode you're in, you can change the display settings, you can change the units there. The terminals on top, that is where you would hook up your terminals to your device. You can measure, like I said, measure and source current and voltage. You'll also have the ability to power a device via loop power as well. There's also a built-in 250 ohm resistor that's there as well that can be turned on and off, and we'll talk about that later. Then there is a backlight key that turns the backlight on for the display, the escape key to go back, and then the arrow keys and the enter key for navigating the different menus. There's also the bottom button on the right, that is the power on and off key. So when you do power it off, it'll confirm that you want to turn it off. So here's a top view of the unit itself. On the left, you'll see the pressure input port. In the middle, you have 2 USB ports. So here, this is where you can actually plug in a USB stick if you wanted to save it to that stick itself. You also have the ability to have the unit itself look like a mass storage device. So as you record information, you can save it in the unit itself and then extract it that way. You also have the ability to control the unit via PC, and that is done through the mini USB port as well. And on the right, there is another port for external pressure modules. So here are the direct keys. The whole button is pretty self-explanatory. You can just hold that to lock in a measured display, that measurement that you have on display. The min-max will record the min and maximum values. The relative key, this is something unique. This is, you can program a measured value and then also press that button and be able to display the difference between the measured value and the preset value that you have referenced there. The source and measure key, this is for the electrical measurements. You can switch between sourcing and measuring. And the zero key, this is, zero is the sensor within the unit. This is recommended before using the unit for any types of calibration. And also if you're going to change the orientation of the unit, move it from one different orientation to another, it's a good idea to go ahead and zero that out. On the screen itself, here are some icons and some explanations in terms of what you have. The unit itself has a battery status indicator. The unit works off of 6 AA batteries, and it's just a bar graph that is there. You have the ability to do an auto-off feature as well. You have some other icons there, or hold, and you also have the ability, like I said, to turn on and off the 250 ohm resistor. The sweep modes, this is for the electrical signals. So you can do step functions, you can do a ramp function, so that'll allow you to do that, and that shows you there. And then we talked about the USB features in the previous slide in terms of being able to control the unit through the PC, if you wanted to make it appear as a storage device, and also if you wanted to plug in an external memory card as well. So when we get to the unit, this is the main screen that you would use to navigate the different functions for the CA700. The first screen is the measurement source, so this will provide an instantaneous reading of pressure and also for milliamps, and that can be changed to different values. The calibrate function, this is where you would do your as found, as left. The file feature, so this will give you an idea in terms of where all the files that you save are. You can go in there and you can delete files as well. The device settings, this is where you would change the contrast, the auto off. This is where you can also turn on and off the 250 ohm resistance as well. So let's talk a little bit about the CA700 and some of the features embedded into the unit itself as far as the documentation part. The unit itself has embedded calibration procedures, and what I mean by that is you have the ability to save different calibration procedures there. So you can save a 3-step, a 5-step, 7-step, 9-step, a pressure switch calibration. You can save those, and then what that does is that saves time so that you don't have to go ahead and recreate that every time you want to calibrate a field device. The unit has the ability to do as found, as left. You also have the ability to enter in error data as far as a percentage, and all that information is saved as a CSV file, which is very easy to read. You don't need any expensive software for that. The unit itself, like I said, it comes with the USB and mini USB ports for retrieving that information. So we have a couple screenshots here as well. The one on the left there, that is one that was for as found, as left. And on the right, that'll show the different steps that's in the calibration and the percentage of error. So when we go to the first calibration part of it, the primary measurement display, this is where you would be able to measure pressure and current as well at the same time. So this is kind of illustrating how easy it is to navigate the different menus. So you have the ability there to change the display settings from display setting 1 and display setting 2. Once you select display setting 1, it'll pull up another menu, and then there you can actually change the function in terms of what the measurement would be. The units, you have the ability to put averaging on and off. There's a scale that you can enter as well, along with alarms. And this is also where you would change the units. So if you wanted to go from kPa to inches of water to PSI, you can go ahead and do that here as well. The unit also has the ability to do a leak pressure test. So that'll monitor the amount of leakage over time, and you can also save that information. So when we go into the calibration part of it, this is where you do your as found, as left procedure. So when you see the model number, tag number, serial number, you can scroll up to there and actually input that information. So you could actually input the information from the manufacturer you're using, the tag number that's assigned to the device, and also the serial number to the device. And once you enter this information and you perform your testing, that information will be saved in the CSV file. So this will help eliminate the need for any calibration sheets, whereas you would have to physically enter the information in. It eliminates any human error that goes into reading, interpreting numbers incorrectly, and you eliminate all those paper sheets and have it all on electronic format. So on the left there as well, select procedure. That is where you would change the procedure. If you click on that button, you'll have a window that would come up with different test procedures, and that's where you would have your test procedures that you can choose from. So then you can do the as found, adjust, and as left, and then save that information. So as you go through it, so on the right, that screen there is what you'll end up doing is the source pressure will change, and you'll go from different points. And once you hit that set point, you'll go ahead and hit that set point button on, and then go up to the next point, and then go so forth. So once you do your calibration, that information is saved into a CSV file, and that CSV file is basically a text file, and this is what this would look like. We don't have any information there in the boxes, but this is just used for an example. So it'll give you the information as far as the source, the measurement, the units. It'll give you the mile number. Again, this goes back to the previous screen where we entered that information in. The tag number, the serial number. It'll also give you the calibration date and time. Also, the serial number of the calibrator you used. So this will give you a lot of data there in terms of the different steps and the error percentage and whether or not it's a pass-fail. So again, the pass-fail will be a function of the error percentage that you set up. The unit itself is rated IP54, so that is dust-proof. It is also splash-proof, so it's very industrialized and ruggedized for everyday use in the field. You also have an ability to prop that up. There's a tilt bar in the back there that you can use for that. As far as accessories, we have hand pumps available. We have two pneumatic, one that's up to 100 PSI, another one is 600. And then we have a hydraulic pressure pump that's up to 10,000 PSI. These are also available in kits that will come with hoses and fittings and that sort of thing. So as far as target markets for the CA700, it's pretty wide-ranging in terms of target markets. Power utilities, draft pressures, that's always a very difficult application since we're dealing in inches of water. You've got a variety of different transmitters, pressure, temperature, along with pressure gauges. The service and calibration companies, since the CA700 is very easy to use and highly accurate, it's ideal for the service companies that are out doing calibrations. It's very accurate, and because of that, they can use that to calibrate a lot of other pressure calibrators that the companies that they're working with have as well. So in the oil and petrochem industry, purge panel switches, those are very, very tough applications. Those are very small, 1 to 2 inches of water switches that typically customers have a hard time trying to calibrate. Transmitters, again, and magnet helic gauges, those are down in the low inches of water gauges, so those are very difficult to calibrate as well. Steam plants, those steam plants, the CA700 is ideal because they're calibrating or wanting to check the transmitters that are used in revenue grade. That's true in steam plants, and also within educational facilities that also supply steam. They are monitoring the usage of different buildings and how much steam they're using. So those transmitters, they want to make sure that those are accurate and that they're billing correctly to those different facilities within the universities. So I'm going to turn this over to Jeff Rainey. He's going to talk about the CA700 and some different application examples.
Thanks, Tay. You're right. The CA700 is such a versatile machine that we actually see a lot of different applications. One of the primary applications, of course, is field calibration of pressure transmitters and differential pressure transmitters. A lot of times in the field with the competitive products, there's just not quite the accuracy there to do a true field calibration. With the CA700, of course, at 0.01%, instead of just doing a field verification, we are accurate enough to actually perform a full field calibration. So that's very critical for this product. Pressure switch test, Tay mentioned earlier, this unit does have the capability to actually calculate the deadband error on a pressure switch. So basically what we do is we pressurize the switch up to the upper limit. Once it reaches the upper limit, of course, the contactor's open. We take a resistance measurement and a pressure measurement simultaneously. We then bleed the switch back down to the low side, the contactors close, and we also take another resistance measurement and a pressure measurement, and then we give you the actual deadband of that switch. So this makes a lot of the testing a whole lot easier, a whole lot faster and simpler. Also, for checking input and output adjustment of an electropneumatic converter, input and output adjustments can be done at 0, full scale, or 0, 25, 50, 75. As many points as you would like to, we can actually take the actual pressure and the current measurements. A sync function. We can actually do a 20 milliamp simulate on like a 2-wire transmitter simulator. So having that sync function in there, we can act as a load in the loop and carry out this function also. 2-wire transmitter loop check. We're going to supply the 24-volt DC power, measure the milliamp signal measurement, and the 0-point check from a transmitter. We also want to keep in mind we also provide the 250 ohm resistance that will help you when you're connecting with a handheld communicator, whether it be heart or brain. We need that additional load in the loop, so the CA700 can provide it. And keep in mind, too, although this is, again, the most accurate pressure calibrator out there, because of the source and measure function, it's almost like buying, 2 calibrators in one. You've got a voltage and a current calibrator and also a pressure calibrator. A lot of times you just need to be able to source a 4 to 20 milliamp signal, which in this application for calibrating a recorder input, the CA700 is perfect. So here's a prime example for using, we've discussed the YHC5150 today. We've also discussed the CA700. So here's a prime example of doing an analog output trim adjustment, for instance, on an EJA transmitter. So we would hook the CA700 up with a pressure pump to the EJA. We would also communicate via HART with the 5150 and also providing the 250 ohm load resistance out of the CA700. So as you can see, a complete suite of product going on, a lot of activity. So as you're thinking about Yokogawa and everything we've discussed today, just keep in mind, if you see this wide variety of offerings, just remember one thing: we work well under pressure. So at this point, I'm going to turn it back over to Chris. If there are any questions, if you'll post the questions to the site on the right, then we'll get those questions answered for you. And we appreciate you tuning in today. So here's Chris.